Well, welcome and thank you for joining us today. My name's Anthony Shoppin. I'm the co founder of Social Driver and chairman of the National Digital Roundtable. And I've got to tell you, this is a briefing I have really been looking forward to because these questions have been coming up nonstop at our in person National Digital Roundtable gatherings focused on the future of news and the future of communication. At a time when audiences are questioning where to place their trust, LinkedIn has quietly become a critical platform for how news is shared and consumed really all around the world now. More than just a magic Rolodex where you can connect with your contacts, LinkedIn is also a powerful resource for journalists and news organizations, as well as public affairs and communications leaders like many of you who seek to shape public discourse. So at today's National Digital Roundtable and Social Driver virtual briefing, we are thrilled to feature Victoria Taylor, LinkedIn's first ever community editor, who is shaping how the platform highlights impactful stories. And a bit later, we're going to hear from Alex Bassant, LinkedIn's principal community manager for corporate engagement and a former LinkedIn news editor. They're going to share how this trusted platform is redefining news distribution, credibility, and influence. And today we're all going to come away with some practical strategies we can each apply to our own news announcements and leadership presence on LinkedIn. So as we go through, drop your questions in the comment section. So after the presentation, we can answer as many of them as possible. And I also want to say a special shout out to Christina Maruna from LinkedIn, a member of our National Digital Roundtable Advisory Board, who made today's event possible and who has hosted us quarterly at the DC office of LinkedIn for our Roundtable series. And if you're interested in attending those and haven't ever been to one, just send us a note. We'll do our best to include you. So without further ado, I'll turn it to Victoria. Victoria, thanks for being with us and take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Anthony, and everyone. We're so thrilled to be able to facilitate this conversation today. So I'm going to give you a quick turbo tour and overview about the LinkedIn news ecosystem and how you can best take part, and then leave lots of time for questions at the end. So we're going to start off with why break news on LinkedIn? Because your audience is here with a global influential audience of more than 1.1 billion members around the world. So we really want you to be a part of that dialogue. This vibrant and engaged professional community includes 68 million plus registered companies and a growth year over year, 24% in public content shared on the platform. So these conversations, these opportunities are only expanding in scope. So in terms of some additional ideas and reasons why you may want to consider breaking your news or leveraging LinkedIn as a news platform or amplification vehicle include professionalism, right? This is where people are thinking about their careers, skills, and knowledge, and really engaging around professionally oriented content. Additionally, this is where the business conversation is happening. So for companies, for brands, it really gives you an instant and continuous pulse check on messaging, on content, on what people are saying, on the larger moments that are being nurtured by your execs. And it also offers you a variety of formats that you can use to actually share your content and tell your story. So whether it's a post, an article, a video, PDF, or anything in between, there are a variety of tools in the paint box that allow you to tell your brand or individual's story. Additionally, your intended audience, whether it's investors, customers, employees, prospective employees, industry analysts, or peers and competitors, that this LinkedIn is where they are. So this is a really valuable way to kind of think about incorporating LinkedIn in your overall news strategy. So just some ideas of examples and best practices that you can utilize can be leveraging LinkedIn for business news and announcements. So we have a variety of examples on screen, such as Jennifer Morris, the CEO at the Nature Conservancy, sharing announcements around an initiative that they're launching with the Pew Chesapeake Trust or other organizations. On the far right, you can see a sample of a trending news topic from a couple of weeks ago about tariffs. So we're constantly curating the news and perspectives for our members to stay informed. And even if you're not featuring those trending news topics, you're still cultivating your own audience on your LinkedIn presence, on your profile as an individual, or on your brand page as a brand. So thinking about how you are really contextualizing the news. So some of the advice that we recommend around announcements include adding that context and perspective, making sure to go beyond the numbers, also being as timely as possible. So making sure that when you're making a major announcement, that you have that LinkedIn post ready to go from your executives as well as from your brand page, so that everything can kind of go out in as timely a fashion as possible. That's going to help you make the most of that moment. And then also tagging those other leaders or companies involved in that news announcement, as you can see being done here on screen with those organizations and individual names highlighted in blue. So these are just some ideas, some thought starters of ways you can break business news and announcements. In terms of organizational changes, this can be executive moves, etc. Really taking people behind the scenes. So, in the post from Geeta Gopinath talking about moving on from the IMF, you can see it generated a tremendous response. So people are very keen to be updated on these moves in their networks and in the larger professional space. And we actually often cover these at LinkedIn News. So we actually do executive move roundups every week, in addition to mergers, deals, partnerships every week, as well as earnings. So there are a variety of different ways to get involved from the LinkedIn News side of things. But we always encourage telling that story, humanizing these announcements, and creating a post that can really serve as a key reference point for media, for key stakeholders to be able to go and say, oh, wow, this is a really important announcement. I want to make sure to congratulate this person, stay up to date with this person, etc. For product and program announcements, we encourage the opportunity to really tell the why. It's not just enough to, put the news or press release out there, say something like, we're excited to announce our holiday fundraising drive link, but rather to tell us that story behind the holiday fundraising campaign, the strategy, the key stakeholders who are involved. So posting from the perspective of someone who's directly involved in this news or strategy is going to make it that much more compelling. And you'll notice that these posts from individuals are really very powerful, right? People really follow business leaders on LinkedIn. Brand pages are incredibly important as well, but people really follow those executive leaders to benefit from their insights and unique expertise and perspectives. Other developments can also be featured in news as well. So research reports, findings, live streamings of different briefings, etc. We encourage experimenting with different formats on the LinkedIn platform, like articles, which are great because you can embed a bunch of rich media in them. You can see an example of a LinkedIn Live on the far right from the Director General at the World Health Organization. There are a variety of different tools that you can use. Infographics, as seen on the left with Kristalina Georgieva. So there's a lot of different ways you can tell that story on LinkedIn. We encourage, again, making sure that you're emphasizing the timeliness of the news, but not timing it to a specific occasion. So, for example, looking ahead to Davos next year, you may want to release a research report timed to Davos, but you weren't necessarily going to want to say, on this day one of Davos. Instead, you might want to say, looking back at last year in review, here are some interesting finds and data extrapolations that we've been able to make thanks to our research. So keeping it timely, not timed, and making sure that you're really setting the stage for these updates. LinkedIn is really seeing a huge growth in vertical video, as well as video at large, as a way to add dimensionality to announcements as you are sharing them. So on screen, you can see 3 different sample business leaders who've leveraged video as part of their earnings or as part of their product news roadmap. We do encourage vertical video as a great way to highlight news, although horizontal video, again, people mix and match different formats. In terms of vertical video for leaders, if you are based in the United States, you may see in your LinkedIn app that you have a tab at the bottom of your browser that says video. And when you click on that, that takes you into an immersive swipeable video experience. And so that you can kind of swipe around in there and see how people show up. We encourage the using a direct to camera format that feels very genuine, very authentic. Daniel Eck and John Gray and Kristen Peck are all great examples of vertical video users. So definitely go check them out to learn more. Vertical video is video that's 9:16. So it's optimized for the mobile experience. Horizontal video is in the middle. That's what kind of that looks like. It's more like a widescreen TV. So again, we encourage that direct to camera, authentic grassroots perspective. 1 to 2 minutes is really the sweet spot for vertical video or video on LinkedIn. We don't want to boil the ocean. We want to tell those amazing stories. So just in terms of the role of LinkedIn News, and I know that someone asked, is LinkedIn News a step above someone's normal day-to-day LinkedIn feed? And does being an editor does an editor select which posts qualify to be featured? Great question. You are very astute in that analysis. So our LinkedIn timely trending news topics, when you open up the LinkedIn homepage on your desktop, you're going to see in the upper right-hand corner this module that says LinkedIn News. And so you can see a screenshot of some sample trending news topics from that module from a couple of months ago. And you'll see that next to each one of these headlines, there are different numbers. That's kind of the concurrent readers that are reading that trending topic at that moment in time. If you were to click on one of those trending topics, that would expand to look something like the image on the right, Snowflake CEO to retire. And so you can see that up at the top of this trending news topic, which was curated and collected by Emma Thorne, who is an editor at LinkedIn News, as you asked. You can see that the post is from the CEO at Snowflake. So we really try to find and highlight the perspectives from the business leaders at the heart of the conversation. But that being said, we do look for contributions from experts in the community as well. So you don't have to necessarily work at Snowflake to weigh in on this Snowflake trending topic. And similarly, you're going to see that there are a wide variety of agnostic trends that might relate to social movements, generational cohorts, return to office, sustainability, events, etc. That can be a great opportunity to weigh in on trending news topics, even if you're not officially affiliated with, say, Google or Snowflake or any other organization. So keep an eye on these trending news topics for your chance to be a part of the conversation. I'll share some resources when I'm done screen sharing on ways you can get plugged into that ecosystem. We do amplify research reports and studies, but we're looking for those that really tie back to the world of business and that are going to drive a significant conversation. So if you're releasing a study that is very, very inside baseball, I guess for lack of a better word, the amplification possibilities for that might be limited, not off the table, but might be more limited than something that's as accessible as the one pictured on screen. I will share our LinkedIn pitch process. We're constantly accepting pitches from different organizations, individuals that are sharing like, hey, we just revealed our top 100 brands of the year, or, these are the findings around how we can help people that don't have access to banking services now receive access to banking services. There's a ton of opportunity, but again, thinking about how do we tie it back to that larger professional world of work. In addition to our trending news topics, we also have the ability to highlight posts in standalone notifications. And so you can get an idea of what that looks like on screen here. So you can see on the far left that the CEO at Headspace was announcing that he was stepping down from his role as CEO later that year. And then we were able to highlight it in the form of a standalone notification pictured in the middle to a select hyper-targeted group of listeners, members on the LinkedIn community platform. So really we can connect the dots and fish where the fish are. And I think that that's a really exciting opportunity. And we send out these types of notifications all the time. You probably received them. You didn't know what they were. But again, we're always looking to help our members be more informed and successful. So keep an eye out for those standalone notifications. And again, I will share more information on ways you can get involved in them. This is another view of what they look like. And again, you might have gotten them on your LinkedIn mobile app and just not known what they were. These are actually curated by our LinkedIn news editors to go out to hyper-specific relevant audiences to make sure that they are staying on the cutting edge. In terms of being able to measure your success as a LinkedIn contributor, checking out your analytics. So you can view your creator analytics, which are going to give you an idea of the larger aggregate trends, or you can look at individual post analytics. And you can see they get quite detailed. So there are a lot of different resources about analytics that we can share with all of you, and we will follow up with those after the call. In terms of your executive presence, we do want to make sure that whether it's you yourself that wants to be positioned as a news breaker, or whether it's executives or clients that you support that you want to be leveraging LinkedIn most effectively, making sure that their profiles are set up for success. And so there are a couple of different building blocks of that. The first of which is making sure their profile photo is publicly viewable, accurate, easy to see, and professional. Exemplified by Editor-in-Chief and VP of Content Development at LinkedIn, Dan Roth. Secondly, adding a cover photo, you can see his ties back to LinkedIn News. It drives a lot of trust. It looks very official and active. Making sure his headline is accurate, up to date, and concise. Adding that about section, aka summary. Again, when people are searching for your executives and their LinkedIn profiles are coming up in the top 10, or when they're searching for you and your profile's coming up in those top search results, you want to make sure your profile's about section or summary is accurate. And last but not least, using featured to highlight press, notable posts, news and announcements, etc., in a very visual way that lives up at the top of your profile. You may have seen LinkedIn Top Voices around the site from time to time. This is an invite-only program that highlights different leaders across spaces, like Nick Thompson over at The Atlantic, as exemplified here. You can see the little top voice badge on his profile. Once you start to see that badge, you'll notice it everywhere. And it's a great way to find people that you can follow on LinkedIn who are leaders in their respective spaces. And just in terms of general resources, so we have a very exciting program that's going to be kicking off later this fall. I'm going to drop the link to that in the chat, or after I stop screen sharing, that is, to be able to register. This is a free program that we offer, usually about quarterly, where you can get to go through sort of a LinkedIn workshops and be able to delve deep on different subject matters. It's all virtual. It's all free. We offer it as a courtesy to the community, and it can be a great way to refresh certain things, do a deep dive on others. So definitely take the time to check it out and see if you want to register. And yes, in terms of being able to pitch us, yes, we can share more information about that. We would recommend making contact with myself or my colleague Alex, just to establish a communication point, so that when your pitches do come in, that we're able to follow up on them for you, maybe able to give you feedback. We recommend pitching us posts from leaders that are involved in the news at hand. We respect embargoes, so we're definitely here to be a positive support as you think about your announcement strategy or news. And if you do end up pitching us something, we will try to get back to you as quickly as possible in terms of feedback. Our LinkedIn news team is a global one. We have different colleagues all around the world who are curating our announcements and notifications, etc., all the time. So we will definitely try to always close the loop with you if we can feature something, or if we're not able to, we'll try to get you that feedback as well. So now I'm going to open it up to questions. But while I browse through the questions, I'm going to just share QR code that you can scan for myself, or the QR code you can scan for my colleague Alex, as well, to be able to follow us to stay up to date on LinkedIn. And so let's see. So I'm going to go scroll through the questions.
Victoria, let me jump in because I've been watching those questions. First, thank you for covering so much with us, and we'll share this because some folks might want to watch that again. But the event that's coming up, that executive training that's free, you're going to share the link with everyone. We'll send it in a follow-up. But can they share that with colleagues who might also find it valuable?
Absolutely. Please feel free to share those with colleagues you find valuable. Here's a registration form for LinkedIn for executives.
Great. It is a great resource. So we're very lucky that you brought it to us and that you're sharing it. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. I just dropped the link to that in the chat.
Great. And, we've had some questions that have come up about sort of how LinkedIn news works. I bet a lot of people coming into this today didn't even realize that outside of the algorithm of LinkedIn, that there are these human news editors who are making these decisions and curating, and that you can be a resource that folks can reach out to pitch. So thank you for sharing that. I wondered if you could talk a little bit about what things are important for the algorithm versus what things are important for pitching a person. And in particular, a couple people asked, is sharing a link back to a news article going to be a bad thing for the algorithm versus maybe sharing, in a post, a photo or something else? We've heard this a lot, and we want to demystify the algorithm and hear from you what your advice is.
Absolutely. So I think that it's a combination of some misunderstandings that people maybe are experiencing. One of them is that link previews are quite small right now. And so if I, Anthony, am posting a link to a fabulous piece of press that I've helped to garner on behalf of a client, and I'm just like, check out this amazing coverage of the, newest restaurant opening in the tri-state area, couldn't be more thrilled for my client, da 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 da. Link. The link shows up a very, very small. It's very hard to see. There's no visual really there. And so, again, the algorithm is really relying on the text you've shared with it to be able to serve it up to the right people, and the preview link is small. So that's kind of a 1-2. And if you're not putting a lot of context there, if you're just like, check out this great article, link, you're at a distinct disadvantage. So what I would recommend would be, rather than relying on the link preview, to take a screen grab of the article, to create your own visual asset to accompany the post. And maybe you say, couldn't be more thrilled for my client at the estate group who's opening up their new restaurant in the tri-state area. Check out this fantastic article that they got in New Yorker Mag, screenshot, and then the link to read the New Yorker Mag article. And that's going to give the algorithm a lot to work with. You're going to have that beautiful visual that's going to encourage people to click through, and you have the link in there. But you're not relying on the link to do the heavy lifting. You're doing the heavy lifting yourself.
And that's such a great kind of trick that you just shared. If you put a link in your post, it's going to automatically populate that little preview. And you can just click the X so that that preview disappears, and you can upload your own image or video, could even be a screenshot. And it's going to be more visually appealing, and might actually perform better. So that was kind of an algorithm side. Going back to the person side, we had a question from Corey. He's wondering, if you want to pitch something like in a major announcement, should they send you a message on LinkedIn Messenger, or is there a team inbox for those pitches? What do you recommend?
Yeah, so please feel free to reach out to us to um, uh, give us a heads up and establish a relationship with us. I'm dropping my email in the chat. Please use respectfully. But if you're just like, hey, I'm working on the upcoming reinvention of da 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 brand, we have an announcement under embargo. We do respect all embargoes at LinkedIn News, and we're certainly happy to help you navigate that process and figure out what that might be. And if we're not the right people to be working with you, we're happy to point you in the direction of our colleagues. We are part of a LinkedIn creator management team that has members who focus on different verticals. And so if it's not myself, if it's not Alex, we'll find the right fit to help support you. I did see that someone asked about the LinkedIn for executives and communicators. Again, it's a free program. It's meant for communications professionals, in-house agency, people that are exec support staff, and executives themselves. So I'd say it's a really worthwhile program. If you can't make a session, most of them are recorded. So I would check it out.
That's great. And we had a question earlier, way up at 11:05, from Ian about, when we're breaking news, do you think that it should come from the person who works at the organization, or do you think it should come from the brand page? I know there's always a lot of question about, well, is it enough to put it on my LinkedIn company page? I know my LinkedIn feed's mostly filled with things from people, though. And so I always encourage folks to post from your leaders' pages. But what do you think?
Yeah, I would encourage. So it's important to have that brand page just because people are affiliated as employees of that brand page. So it's really important to make sure that's up to date. But my colleagues on the LinkedIn news side really prefer posts from individual executives versus brand pages. So you're going to notice when you visit those trending news topics and you browse through them, that the majority of them are going to have posts featured in them from the executives who are integral to the business conversation at hand. So I just dropped one from 5 days ago. Google unveils AI-infused Pixel 10. Top post is from Sundar Pichai. This other trending topic from the other day about OpenAI launches Chat GPT-5. The top post is from the head of GPT. So we're always looking for the business leaders who are able to speak to these issues, to be able to share their thoughts, their perspectives. And we do cover, outside of the industry specific news, we do cover other ones, like, for example, here's a trending topic around helping people navigate changing times and find resilience. And you can see that, we have a variety of business leaders and individuals featured there who are sharing their thoughts in a variety of ways. So I think this is a great inspiration, especially if you're at an impact driven organization, a nonprofit, etc., thinking about ways you can join in the conversation as well. So we do have moments and trending topics like this too.
We say a lot at Social Driver, faces are the new logos. People trust people. And so we have to have those voices, out there as spokespeople, not just on TV, but on platforms like LinkedIn. And I think what you're showcasing there, Victoria, is a good reminder to all of us. If your executives are saying, but it's on our company page or it's on our website, that's enough. You heard directly from Victoria at LinkedIn. That is not enough. They're looking for things that come from the leaders themselves. You mentioned an example from Google, and I saw this question above from Daniel Brackens. Since LinkedIn articles are indexed by Google, is there an opportunity to leverage them for GEO or generative AI optimization? Do you have any data or tips to optimize the content for this? So if somebody's searching on Gemini or Claude or ChatGPT, does posting on LinkedIn help to feed the right information in?
I mean, I think this is such an emerging space. I don't have a lot of concrete data to corroborate this, but my gut instinct is that it'd be very, very smart to build out that strong foundation. The way that I see different individuals or brands doing that is by having like a LinkedIn newsletter. So, for example, if you follow like ServiceNow, the brand page has a fantastic LinkedIn newsletter. And similarly, I've also seen executives launching their own LinkedIn newsletters too. Like this one just launched from the CEO at Grammarly. So again, you can write standalone articles, or you can write LinkedIn newsletters, which are serialized articles that people can opt in and subscribe to. So these are just two examples of how you may want to do that. Again, writing standalone articles is totally possible if you're like, I don't want to commit to writing a LinkedIn newsletter. I don't want to be coming back week over week, month over month, having to write something about whatever the space is that I decide to do. But on the other hand, if you decide that a LinkedIn newsletter is the right fit for your brand or for your executives or for yourself, that it can be a really great opportunity to reap those rewards and dividends over time. When you look at a LinkedIn newsletter that's been around for a long time, they can get quite large, hundreds of thousands of subscribers, if not more. So here's one that's been around for quite some time, and you can see how big it's gotten. So again, good things take time. And so if you want to invest that time in building that thought leadership and using articles or newsletter to do that, that's super savvy strategy to take.
And thank you for dropping all those examples. We are going to share those. Any questions we didn't get a chance to answer in our last minute here in our follow-up email, so we'll get those out to you. Had a question about hashtags. This is kind of a controversial topic these days. Do they matter? Should we use them? Thank you, Elizabeth Mace, for that question. What say you?
Yeah, so hashtags on LinkedIn have evolved over time. So before you could search for hashtag like women in finance and be like, great, I'm going to go follow women in finance. And then when topics that or posts that feature the hashtag women in finance are doing well, they're strongly percolating through the content ecosystem, I will see them in my feed. We've sort of evolved from that set it and forget it passive following to an active search experience. So yes, you can still search by hashtags, but you actually have to go out there and actively search them. You can't just follow them and be like, haha, I've followed technology. Now posts featuring technology will show up in my feed. Additionally, the content that's being pulled into your feed as suggestions are based off of the full content of the post. It's not just the hashtags. So I would say that hashtags, you can absolutely use them if you are looking for posts around a specific event. Let's say that you are attending CES in January of next year, and you're like, who else is going to # CES 2026? That's really smart, because then you're going to be able to find other people that are planning on going next year, connect with them, make those relationships happen. Similarly, if you're with a brand and you're like, we have an official brand hashtag, we are Cybercore, and everybody uses that in their posts, that's going to help us keep track of our employee retention and engagement efforts. So I definitely think that it's smart to use them when you're trying to keep track of things, find people. But in terms of trying to use hashtags to expand reach, you may very well find that the content that's accompanying the post is the best way to expand that reach by just including those phrases organically. So
Yeah.
rather than just throwing in fashion, finance,
Yeah.
NYC, etc., to try to build that into part of the narrative that you're sharing to accompany that photo or document or whatever it may be, and letting the algorithm do its thing.
Yeah, the way we use hashtags in 2025 is not the same as the way we used them back in 2015 or 2020. And so we have to evolve. And I just want to call out a note. Alexandra Merceron, our friend who teaches at Columbia University in AI, her research has shown that AI engines are picking up information from LinkedIn posts. So for the question we had earlier, her research shows it. So it's another reason that we want to make sure that we're putting our content on LinkedIn and all the different forms that Victoria told us about. We have to wrap. We are going to share a follow-up with everyone. I want to say a big thank you to Victoria Taylor for being with us today and sharing your expertise. We really appreciate it. And everyone have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thank you.